So in this session, I want to talk about what I consider one of the most beautiful phenomena in nature, which are waves. So I'm going to talk first about how waves are formed. Then I'm going to explain to you how waves break and what can influence the wave's shape when it breaks. And then I'm going to talk about two of the most famous waves in the world and some interesting facts about them. And this slide, yeah. So, and I think it helps to understand how waves work and how they break, because it helps you appreciate even more the beauty of it. So like that's what tricked me to go and look more on this subject. All right, so moving on to how waves are formed. So waves are formed by big storms. So what creates waves are massive storms in the middle of the ocean. So the process is basically very strong winds will start blowing and will start pushing water forward, and the water will start to, ripples will start to form, which will combine little waves start to form bigger waves. But the interesting thing happens if the wind blows for an extended period of time in one direction, these waves will start to accumulate enough energy underneath the surface, as you can see here, to a point where they're able to travel even after the storm dissipates. So when that happens, the waves that they have formed by that storm are able to travel for thousands of nautical miles. These are what are called swells. Swells are usually what surfers are looking for when they look at forecasts. You can see here the lines perfectly arriving at the beach. So it's the raw energy that can travel for, like, an example would be like in the west coast of the US, most of the massive swells that hit there actually come from New Zealand. So you have an idea on how long these things can travel. So just to summarize, waves are formed by big storms. So strong winds blowing in the same direction for an extended period of time will give you waves. So that's how waves are formed. Now I'm going to talk about what happens when the waves get closer to the shore. So first I'm going to explain how the waves actually break, and then I'm going to look at some of the factors that will influence what it's going to look like when it breaks. So you can see like this: waves that barrel, waves that don't barrel, waves that look kind of messy. So we'll see what will make the difference for them to be like that. So how waves break. So this is a diagram that will show the whole thing. So basically, the idea is once they start to approach the shore, they'll start to feel the bottom, and once there's a tipping point when the depth of the water is at 1.3 times the height of the wave, that the top of the wave gets faster than the bottom, and then it spills forward. So the top is moving faster than the bottom. That's why you see the movement of the wave breaking. So the first big factor that will influence what it looks like is wind. So here you can see on the top picture here is what would be called onshore winds. So it's winds blowing from the ocean into the shore. So you can see that the waves look really messy and choppy, not good for surfing at all. And you can see on the bottom one what are called offshore winds. So winds blowing from shore into the water. So you can even see the spray here coming from the wave because the wind's blowing in that direction. And of course, it's great for surfing. Another big thing that will influence the shape of the wave when it breaks is the topography of the seabed. So basically what that means is what will determine the strength and the violence that the wave is going to break is how fast it changes from deep waters to shallow water. So what usually happens, and that's what usually happens when you have reef breaks or point breaks. This, by the way, is where I live in Australia. So the wave's coming and it's deep water, and then it finds this very shallow place. It will break with a lot of violence, and it will create those barrels that we saw, the tubes. On sand, it doesn't break as fast because the slope is lower, so it will start to lose energy before it actually breaks. That's why it's not as powerful. Tides also play a massive role to a point where, depending on the break, especially point breaks and reef breaks, you might get there in the morning and you see like 6-8 foot waves. You get there 4 hours later when the tide changes and it looks like a lake. So it plays a massive role there. So now we understand how waves are formed and how they break. So now I'm going to talk about two of the most famous waves in the world and some interesting facts about them. So the first one that I want to talk about is in Australia. It's on the northeast of Australia. It's called a place called Snapper Rocks. So Snapper Rocks, apart from being a great wave to surf, the interesting thing about it is that it's a man-made wave. So what happened here was there were no waves in this break a couple of years ago, but the local government was worried that there's a river right next to it called TWU River, and ships were having problems navigating through that or passing through the river because sand was accumulating there. So they built a mechanism to pump sand out of the river mouth and throw it back into the wave the break next to it. What happened was the sand got deposited in a way that formed a perfect bank, what is called now the super bank, which created the wave that didn't exist at all. So here you can see, this is looking from behind, so the wave starts here on Snapper Rocks and goes all the way down to Kira, which is a ride over 1 kilometer in length. So if you get there on a good day and catch one of these waves, you probably need a taxi or a car to come back here and get So it spans 3 beaches, so this is Snapper Rocks, Kulangara, and the other one. So this one is the last one I want to talk about, Chopu. This is in Tahiti, and it's considered the most dangerous wave in the world, as you might see why. It's a reef break, and the interesting thing about it, and I wanted to show you guys, is that there's a guy called Laird Hamilton. He surfed a couple of years ago this wave, which is considered the heaviest wave ever ridden by a person. And I think it's a beautiful wave, like the picture is really amazing. So I'd like to finish this presentation by showing you guys a video of this wave. So we'll see like Hamilton, he had to actually tow in like a jet ski pull him into the wave because you can't paddle instead. Look how the wave bends.
Awesome.
See you live.
Thanks.